I don't really know if I knew what I was looking to do, to quite honest with you, Dan. It was interesting how I got the job. I'd played a lot of men's major fast pitch. It was basically at the end of my career at my age at that point. I guess I was 35 or so back then. And I was working at a place, and next door was the father of one of the girls who was already playing here, Christy Kaleka, and her dad was Ken. And they were looking for a coach. This might have been in January of that particular year, and I was working. He saw me, he goes, you know, Roy, I know you play men's fast pitch, and my daughter's school is looking for a coach. You'd be interested. I didn't know girls even played softball, to be quite honest with you. My first reaction, my first thought to him was, no, Ken, thank you so much for asking, but no. And he actually asked me 3 times. He asked me maybe about a week later, maybe 2 weeks later. And on the third time, you know, I thought about it. I got in my car, started driving home, and back then we had payphones. And for some unknown reason, I pulled off the side of the road and he gave me the number, Margaret Alamo's number at the time. Says, well, if you change your mind, call this number. And it was on that day, so I was driving home. I pulled over to the payphone, put my quarters in the payphone, and I made a call to Margaret Alamo. This is before I even talked to my wife about it. And I called Margaret and had a short chat with her, and Margaret was gracious enough to invite me in just to chat with her. And then I went home and told my wife about it. And she had been following me for, 20 years all over the country playing men's major fast pitch, and now I was working without playing ball on the weekends and traveling. And listen, without her support, I would have never done this. But she said, if that's what you want to do, go talk to them and do what you want. So obviously, if she had said no, this would have never happened. But that's how I found out about the job. I came in and met with Margaret a little bit. She was crazy enough to hire somebody with no experience coaching a female. And I think I've maybe mentioned this story to you before. My first practice here at LIU, Margaret Alamo introduced me to Bill Gerke, who's been my assistant the whole time. I didn't know who to hire. I didn't know who coached softball. I knew nothing about it. I was fortunate enough to meet Bill, who's been a huge part of our program for all these years with me. And I remember one of the first practices, I was hitting ground balls in the gym, and I really wasn't hitting too hard. And Bill came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm hitting ground balls." He said, "No, you're not. You can hit them harder than that." I had no idea how hard I could hit a ground ball at a girl, so I began to hit them a little harder. I started feeling better about what I was doing, but it was kind of interesting how I got the job, and 20-something years later, it's been a lot of fun and really, really rewarding, and so happy I've had this experience. Again, I had no idea where to find a girl playing softball. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know where they played. I didn't know how they played. Bill helped me with that a little bit, obviously, because he'd been involved in girls fast pitch prior to that. And I remember our first weekend, my first game, we played down south against a team that was struggling, and we won 28-0, 31-0 kind of thing, and we were holding base runners up and trying to be diplomatic about it and not embarrass anybody. But after that doubleheader, I got on the bus and I said, I don't know if I can do this. This is not competitive enough for me. I don't know if I can do this. And we played a doubleheader the next day. I remember where it was, the University of Pennsylvania, and we lost the first game of the doubleheader, and I was really happy because I said, okay, this is better. So my first weekend of coaching real ball was kind of interesting at the same time, and it was something I'll never forget. Obviously, I was happy for the kids. I mean, one of the things we do here with our program is if the kids can understand how to carry themselves and build themselves to win championships on the field, they're going to be successful in life at the same time. So I think the first championship we won, just to see the program, the kids that we have here experience what it feels like to win a championship, you can't explain that to anybody. You can't explain it to somebody sitting there with a bag of potato chips and a Diet Coke watching TV in a room. They will never understand. But to see other people experience that and go through that and live through that is a good feeling for me, because I've been fortunate enough to do that in my career. So to see some kids on the field, young ladies do that is really kind of cool. And I remember we won, I think in '99, we won our NCAA, one of the games up in the NCAA regions up in UMass, which is the first time any team in the conference in any sport had won a game in the NCAA tournament. So at the time, I didn't really know how big that was, but it was kind of cool. So I'm really proud of that group. And even the kids that were the couple years before that I inherited, they were wonderful kids, and they worked really, really hard and helped us build ourselves to a spot where in '99 we could win a championship. But it's a great feeling, and it was a great feeling for me, but more importantly, it was a great feeling for the kids. But I remember after '99 and the success we were having, one of the things we wanted to do is see if we can kind of start recruiting some strong athletes that can help us compete on a national level. And one of the things we had to do was build a schedule that we'd be able to play some teams on a national level, that kids who were at that level could come in and say, I want to play against those teams. With Margaret Alamo and Gail Stevens-Haynes and supporting John Suarez, all supporting our program and allowing us to go out and find those teams to play and go to some of the tournaments we go to, we were able to play those teams. Now, unfortunately, when we played those teams early, we took a hammering. We took a hammering. So I'm fully and completely indebted to those kids that while we were doing that and playing those teams and having some hard knocks, that they stayed with it, they persevered, they continued to win championships along the way, even though the record may not have been where they wanted it to be. But it opened a door for us to get some kids that were being recruited by some very, very talented big-time softball schools and academic schools to say yes to Long Island University and enable us to kind of continue to win some championships and improve each and every year. I think we're always looking for kids that we believe are going to, number one, provide a real positive image for our university and carry themselves wide. Have a real good balance between academics and athletics. Have some social skills in place that they're going to become good teammates for us. And then obviously have some athletic ability, and even if it isn't refined enough to play at our level yet, but we see that there's some athletic ability that we get a chance to work with and we can develop. It's those kind of kids that we're always looking for to build our program and more importantly, keep our culture intact. Dan, I don't know if there's one that I can point to, but I will say over the years, there's been numerous games we've won against, top 10, top 15, top 20 teams, and then top 50 teams that have helped our program on a national scale in terms of our reputation, etc. So I think even though you're just playing against those teams and competing and making them really work to beat us, helped our program a lot. Because now kids are coming in and saying, we're going to play a program that can beat these teams, play with these teams, and I'm happy to go there. But I don't think there's one in particular that I can really say stands out. Listen, I can't remember my kid's name at home, so I'm not going to remember one game in particular. Yeah, that group that in there for 4 years was a very special and talented group that we had here. One, I think I mentioned before, the culture that they built on those 4 years here was really, really strong. And culture, it'll trump talent. If you don't have a good culture, it doesn't know how much talent you have. So they had a really good base to start with. And I think that group, the 2010 thing I remember the most is that they had won their first two. They won a championship their freshman year. They won a championship their sophomore year. And they got beat in 2009, the year before that, in the final. And I think that really stuck in their crow a little bit, because they came back really committed and passionate about making sure they won and saw how far they could go in the regionals. And in 2010, they were dominant. They were very, very good. I didn't have to do much coaching. It was an easy year for me. They were good. I think the first thing about that question is I think our program's made the championship final 14 out of 17 years or somewhere in there. Which is something we're actually proud of, because we have to put ourselves in a position to win a championship if you want to do it. So regardless of where we are during the early part of the year with the schedule that we play, our kids have learned how to build and gain momentum and mature and grow and get better to put themselves in a position each year to win a championship. Whether you do that or you don't, sometimes you have no control over. But our conference in particular, I would say the last 5 to 6 years, the level of talent in our conference has greatly increased, and I really enjoy that. It's really, really good to see. You're seeing teams in our conference go out and play teams like we've played. Now they're going to a lot of different tournaments. They're playing some big-time teams. Whether they're taking our lead or not, I don't know, but they're doing what I think is going to make them very successful, and it's increased the difficulty to win in our conference. It's hard to win anytime you go out and lace them up in our conference, which is, to me, being a competitor, and what I want our kids to be as competitors, it's much better. It's really, really good. You told me we had a half hour for this. It's going to take a lot more than a half hour, but I'll try and see if I can kind of surmise it a little bit for you. The mission statement with our program that we have here at LIU, and we've implemented it, is to teach, educate, inspire, and motivate young ladies to find success athletically, academically, in their careers, socially, and in their relationships. And we take that mission statement and we believe that the game of softball, the game itself is the ultimate teacher. The lessons that we can learn from the game are the ones that are going to make us successful on the field and off the field. We have a little thought process called Diamond Boardroom Program. We're going to take the skills we learn on the diamond and we're going to transfer them for the young ladies into the boardroom one day, hopefully, in their jobs. The culture is something that you really have to build, and they all got to be in. And I think I've mentioned this to you before. I've said to our team in the past, if the culture's not right, I won't let you win a championship. And I really mean that, because the culture's got to be right. Otherwise, we're cheating the whole process. So, with that background and that mission statement and that our philosophy with that, we talk about every day the little things about the game, particularly the 6 inches between the ears, which are so critical to us being successful. We have the academic part here, which I'll call them the X's and O's, and they need those X's and O's they're learning in the classroom to be successful when they leave. But we're going to take those X's and O's and teach them all the other things I just mentioned right now, so that they can combine them and be successful when they get out here. And I think the academic and the athletic portion working together is critical in the development of the student athlete here. And we continue to pound into our kids how important the academic end is, because it is number one. It's our number one priority here. Then comes softball. Then comes 3 and 4, and they can have 3 through 100 if they want, but we always say number 1 is your faith and family, 2 is academics, 3 is softball. As long as 1, 2, and 3 stay in that right order, we hopefully have a pretty good balanced kid here. And balance is a key word. We keep it balanced. We don't have, you mentioned some teams in our conference doing real, etc. We don't come in and say, we want to beat this team. This is what we want to do. We want to beat this team. We want to win championships. Who we beat and who we lose to along the way is of no significance to us. We just want to win a championship when it's all over. Our kids understand that, so there's no more importance on one game than another game. We talk about, some of the challenges, and there are a lot of them. Kids have changed a little bit since I've been coaching for a while. Maybe been around too long, but they've changed, and I think it's a combination of some societal changes, some parenting changes that bring us some different challenges when they get here. In particular, kids understanding how to handle success and failure, particularly the failure part. They have a difficult time handling that as freshmen in particular. And I don't know if it's sometimes travel coaches or parents struggling with how to teach them to handle success and failure, or they don't want to do it. I'm not really certain. But I do know the way, for instance, travel ball is set up these days. In most of the games are an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30-minute fire drills. They don't have a winner or a loser. Everybody's trying to get recruited. Kids are jumping from team to team. Parents, it's pretty well documented, are kind of, sometimes they're crazy in the stands and they're yelling at the kid what to do or mad at the coaches. So kids are inundated with those kind of environmental situations around them that when they get here, psychologically and emotionally in particular, it's really hard for them to deal with competing. There is a winner, there is a loser. And in life, 90% of the time, there's a winner and a loser. So we get those challenges and we take our time to work with them and try and help them see themselves through both winning and losing, because they're both critically important. And it's not just the game, too. It's winning or losing a pitch, winning or losing at bat. We talk a lot about how to build our personal brand. And we talk to our kids that your personal brand isn't what you think it is, it's what other people think it is. So after you've made a mistake on the field, at the plate, running the bases, whatever it may be, what's the brand you're going to show everybody? Because one day the brand is going to be transferred into their relationships with their husbands or their wives and into their jobs and with their kids, and we want to make sure they're always cognizant of it. So I don't know, I'm rambling here a little bit, but there's so much fun stuff that we get a chance, and I'm fortunate enough to work with young ladies 17 to 21, 22 years old at a real unique time in their life to help try and teach them some of these things through our game, our wonderful game, that will make them successful in the rest of their life. And that is where I find I get my greatest gratification, to see them come back and understand what we tried to teach them here on the field, put them into their own lives, and more importantly, teach their kids the same thing, because now we're reseeding the game, and that's why I do what I do.